didn't know what to make of this story, had no idea what was going on, and then did the research this morning. And there's a narrative from the corporate side of this and from the employees alleging that Blizzard is a company in which it is disgusting to work in. It's a frat boy house full of sexual assault, sexual misconduct. And there's the thing, like the sexual harassment, sexual misconduct stuff, those are serious allegations, need to be investigated under any circumstances. And Blizzard said they had. The allegers are saying they didn't properly. And now they're being investigated by the Californian authorities. So this is the first article here. California sues Activision Blizzard over alleged harassment. So they say in here, one of the world's largest game companies is being taken to court over an alleged frat boy, in quotes, culture that discriminates against women. Activision Blizzard is accused of unequal pay, promoting men over women, and widespread sexual harassment. California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing is taking legal action against the company following a 2-year investigation. Activision is calling the action disgraceful and unprofessional, and says that the department is an unaccountable state bureaucrats. So a bunch of unaccountable state bureaucrats. So there's the clash there. And I went through the complaint. So we go to the next link.
Before we go on, can I just say that this is obviously a feminist attack on the company?
I think the court documents will prove that.
I haven't read the court documents. I'm just, from what we have here, it's obvious to me that feminists are attacking a company because they didn't get what they want.
So there's the sexual harassment stuff and the sexual misconduct. I don't know the facts of that. It's impossible to know at this stage.
Yep.
And that's a thing that can be taken seriously. But just when we start reading the complaint here, you'll notice a pattern that is very obvious. So they start the complaint on the first page, in which they say, sexism has plagued the male-dominated gaming industry for decades, and increasingly so in recent years.
Oh, it's the revenge of Anita Sarkeesian.
What the hell has this got
They
to do with
didn't pay her off enough.
Women and girls now make up half of gamers in America.
That's a false statistic, but carry on.
But the gaming industry continues to cater to men, comma, even in California. So the ladies who wrote this, or the department that wrote this, are kind of dunking on California there. But
even in California, they're still catering to men. Okay.
Why? There aren't any. Anyway, but you mentioned Anita Sarkeesian, and this is where this gets really fishy. So if we go to the next link here, this is what they quoted as the link for that, because they quote every piece of statement they make. It's a New York Times article talking about Anita Sarkeesian and how she's a poor little woman who's facing threats in Gamergate because everything goes back to this goddamn thing, doesn't it?
She had nothing to do with Gamergate as well. She inserted herself into it. Anyway.
But that's the opening gambit. The opening gambit is to talk about how sexism in the gaming industry and also game companies like men, not women, therefore they're bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So we go back to the complaint and we continue on this. So they continue in their blistering argument by why everything's sexist. Unlike its customer base of
I feel like I'm in
increasingly...
2015 again.
I know, it's weird. Like
This
that's
is
why
a
I'm
time
stumbling, where I'm
warp.
just like, what the f*** are we talking about? Like, unlike its customer base of increasingly diverse players, defendants' workforce is only about 20% women. So? What's that going to do with anything? Like, because your customers are, let's just assume 50% women, therefore your employees have to be 50% women.
The customers are definitely not 50% women.
But also, what a communist standard. Like, that's not a liberal standard at all. Its top leadership is almost exclusively male and white.
Oh, wow. I knew they were bad when they said male, but now that they said white, now I'm certain of it.
The CEO and president roles are now, and have always been, held by white men. Yeah, this is going to be very serious, isn't it?
It's like they're saying Skeletor.
Women who reach top roles earn less salary, incentive pay, and total compensation than their male peers.
Right.
Defendants also promote women more slowly and terminate them more quickly. And the BBC added on in here, in which they spoke about it, which wasn't included in here, saying, and when one female employee taking the managerial responsibilities asked for an increase in pay and a promotion, her manager, quote, commented that they could not risk promoting her as she might get pregnant and might like being a mum too much. Which I just thought was interesting. But back to the article itself. So they also say defendants have also fostered a pervasive frat boy workplace culture. Women are subjected to, quote, cube crawls, in which male employees drink copious amounts of alcohol as they crawl their way through various cubicles in the office and often engage in inappropriate behavior towards female employees.
Now, just assuming that's true, it explains why Blizzard's games are crap these days.
Just spend all time getting drunk.
Yeah.
But also, I find that statement weird. Women are subjected to cube crawls, except they're not the ones taking part. The men are getting drunk and crawling around. I don't know what this is. I don't know. It's unprofessional.
Yeah.
It's not going to make your games better.
No,
So-
I mean, I'm just going to assume it's true. As well,
yeah, I've got no
because-
reason to doubt it. But the
Yeah.
idea that this is an attack on women, I think it's just unprofessional.
I mean, maybe they're being perverse towards the ladies, which is obviously inappropriate. So
male employees proudly come to work hungover, as if that's a crime. Again, just unprofessional. It's not an attack on women.
yeah,
Play video games for long periods of time during their work,
I feel like I'm being berated by my mum.
whilst delegating their responsibilities to female employees. Engage in banter about their sexual encounters. That's the wording in here. They're saying that the men engage in banter about sex, and that's an attack on women.
To be honest with you, in California, it probably is.
They also talk openly about female bodies.
Okay.
What kind of puritanical talk is this? But then they say they also joke about rape.
Okay.
Okay. Like, none of this is a crime.
Yeah.
Like, they're engaging in dumb tomfoolery. Again, unprofessional, you could argue.
If I were the boss, I'd be like, why aren't they making things?
Yeah, why are you
Like,
not
that's what they're
making
being
the
paid
digital?
for, yeah.
Female employees are subjected to constant sexual harassment, including having to continually fend off unwanted sexual comments and advances by their male co-workers and supervisors, and being groped at cube crawls and other company events. Now, that's where the sort of serious stuff comes in, where
Sure.
it's like, right, that's harassment, that can be
Yeah, absolutely.
misconduct, and therefore it can be investigated and tried, and if Activision doesn't take that seriously, then yeah, they're guilty of something. In a particularly tragic example, now this is a weird thing to bring up, a female employee committed suicide during a business trip with a male supervisor who brought butt plugs and lubricant on with him on the trip. That's where that ends.
Okay, I would like to know more about that story.
You would have thought there'd be more information in which they're making the allegation that Activision essentially made this woman commit suicide at work because she went on a trip and the supervisor had butt plugs with him.
Well, the implication is that somehow the butt plugs and lubricant contributed to her suicide.
Yeah, but there's not much more there, except that the BBC also later on a bit more info, saying that one female employee even killed herself due to a sexual relationship with her male supervisor, so presumably she was in a sexual relationship with him. And, quote, a tragic example of how the harassment or that the defendants allowed to foster took place, because she had gone on the company trip with him, but before they'd done that, they did another trip in which it was alleged that male co-workers had passed around images of her that were intimate photos.
Right.
So, okay, but to allege that the company caused her death is pretty out there.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It strikes me that if half of this is true, then Activision really should have done something about this kind of behavior in their workplace.
Yeah, the behavior stuff is important. What I find strange is the framing in which they're just talking about, like, let's link Anita Sarkeesian and talk about sexism in video games first.
This woman committed suicide because of butt plugs.
It had nothing to do with the men being drunk at work. That's just unprofessional standards, I would say.
Sure.
But employees' complaints were treated in a perfunctory and dismissive manner and not kept confidential. As a result, female employees were subjected to retaliation, including being deprived of work projects, unwittingly transferred to different units, and selected for layoffs. Now, the thing with all this that I'm reading, it's the allegation.
Yes.
None of this is proven. This is just the Californian authorities saying that Blizzard done this. Activision has issued, because it's Activision Blizzard, have issued a retaliatory statement and said, "We are sickened by the reprehensible conduct of the Californian authorities to drag into the complaint the tragic suicide of an employee whose passing has no bearing whatsoever on this case and has no regard for her grieving family. It is this type of irresponsible behavior from an unaccountable state bureaucrats that are driving many of the state's best businesses out of California."
Which is true.
A lot of businesses are leaving California.
They are.
And a lot of the equality legislation is nonsensical. The anti-harassment legislation, worthwhile, but then I have to wonder how much of this is in good faith. They actually go on to later complain about whether or not they're in good faith. There's also a random allegation I found later on, which is also very strange, in which the Californian authorities say that a male supervisor openly encouraged a male subordinate to buy a prostitute to cure his bad mood.
Mm-hmm.
And this was evidence of them being a sexist company? It's like,
Are these sex-negative feminists, are they?
I presume so.
Sex work is not real work, say the women accusing Blizzard.
Because that's the thing. You're throwing in jokes in with serious cases of sexual harassment or misconduct. And it makes me wonder why. Because these two things aren't the same.
Yeah.
One of them's not criminal. One of them's not even that big of an interest. It's just stupid, non-professional nonsense. And then you've got the serious stuff. Why? Why are you throwing that in? Anyway, so here's one of the people who made the allegation against it. And she's saying, she's going to come out and say it, and she has a bit of the deposition in here, which is interesting. So she says, I was one of these women. My incident happened in 2013 at BlizzCon. I didn't say anything officially until I decided to leave the company last year because of the name recognition and fear of retaliation. And the section she's linked in here is them alleging that one of the main guys is a serial harasser, abuser, I don't know what the right term is.
Mm-hmm.
So Alec Frenbazi, I don't know how to say, alleged sexual harassment. She says in here, Afrabazi would hit on female employees, telling him he wanted to marry them. I don't know why it says him, just a misprint, I guess. Attempting to kiss them and putting his arms around them. Also, he was known to engage in sexual harassment of female employees, and that his suit was nicknamed the Crosby suit after alleged rapist Bill Crosby. It's Cosby, not Crosby, but whatever. Okay. But when you go to her account, I have to start wondering again, because you look at her description of herself. She, her, ex-Blizzard employee, polyamorous, queer. And then she also goes on later to say, men in positions of power would offer me money if I go on dates with them. It's like, look, there are serious allegations, and then there's the stuff you're coming out with on the side to try and make it sound worse, but it doesn't sound serious. So that's why I'm suspicious. You'll see there, trans-inclusive, feminist, Black Lives Matter. Yeah. Intersectional. Yeah. There's also another one of these in which there's a clip going around in which people are trying to big up as being an example of stuff wrong.
Institutional sexism at Blizzard.
Sorry, I got these mixed up. The last one was the trans-inclusive feminist. This one's the polyamorous queer girl who says that she was offered money to go on dates. And if we go to the next one, this is the clip that was going around.
This is from 2010, isn't it?
Yeah. And this is...
So an 11-year-old clip has been dragged up.
But it's being used, again, to be like, hey, look at how bad and sexist the gaming industry is. But it's not really serious. That's the thing. Like, you've got these serious charges in there, but then why the feminist nonsense of other stuff that's not serious? And the not serious thing here is they have some lady who's asking a question.
Yeah, she's complaining, why do your female characters look like they're out of a Victoria's Secret catalogue? And they're just like, well, what catalogue would you like them to look from? And that's
a pretty good rebuttal.
That's a pretty funny response. But the complaint is from the dowdy feminist who's like, I'm intimidated by the attractive women that I see. How dare you? It's like, well, I'm sure the guys all look quite attractive as well. Yeah.
But that's not a problem because
it's just normal.
It's not how sexism works in the feminist mindset.
Well, I suppose so. But
yeah, this is very 2013, very 2012.
Well, 2010 this is. I mean, it was very old,
Yeah, but that's something. If we go to the next one, there have been some messages from employees. So apparently this guy's an employee, and he says, many of us will not be working today in solidarity with the women who came forward. The statements made by Activision Blizzard King do not represent us. We believe women. We will continue to strive to do better and hold others accountable. Actions speak louder than words.
I'd like a day off too, to be honest.
It's just not going to work. Okay. So there's also been releases from some other employees who have said that, no, I mean, men would also be harassed, assaulted. I don't know what the right term is here. And the example they give is, again, it's not a rapist. It's something stupid. They say in here the company's frat boy culture also included senior managers engaging in games that involved groping male colleagues' genitals. One of them was called Gay Chicken. Right.
Okay.
Like, that's the thing. Like, it's so schoolboy, stupid, unprofessional nonsense. Sure, shouldn't be in a professional workplace. True. But the perception of this being like it's, everyone's a roving rapist in Activision. I'm not sure I
kind of hate Activision and Blizzard these days, so I'm down with it. Right, yeah. Activision Blizzard full of roving rapists.
Yeah. So one of the men released a video about this, so we go to the next one, in which this guy, he says in this video that he was also sexually harassed, and then he says, but women had it way worse, and he gives us some examples in which he fought to defend women. And this didn't go down well with the people accusing, who are alleging that he was the one who made women cry a lot.
Oh.
So we go to the next one. There's Danny Batt, a former Blizzard employee. She describes herself as an activist, and also she, they.
Oh, wow. What a surprise.
Yeah, and then she released some messages from presumably insiders who were like, yeah, this is rich. This guy made me cry all the time. It's like,
I'm sorry this man had me crying his first day as my team manager, and it every opportunity preyed on my confidence issues to pit me against my own female reps. Okay.
Right. And if we go to the next one, there has been a response to the message put out by Blizzard that this lawsuit is an attack on them that doesn't bear out in reality. And you can see over 1,000 Activision Blizzard employees signed a letter condemning company's response to allegations. They say in here, again, there are the parts that just make me have a bit of a think, because in a sense it says there, for example, it damages their ongoing quest for equality. And they say in the letter, we believe these statements have damaged our ongoing quest for equality inside and outside the industry. The employees
That's interesting.
writing this. Categorizing the claims that have been made as distorted and in many cases false creates a company atmosphere that disbelieves victims.
Well, you're just assuming that they're victims on the strength of that allegation alone, which means we don't believe in the presumption of innocence.
Yeah. I mean, it's the feminist argument, again, from like 2010s.
Yes.
They're just like, believe women. Why? Because they said so. And it's like, well, that's not good enough.
Seems to be opening the door to those bad faith actors who might want to take advantage of actresses who want to take advantage of that.
And they say in the letter as well, in their demands, they say, we call on Frances Townsend to stand by her word to step down as executive sponsor of the Activision Blizzard King Employee Women's Network as a result of the damaging nature of her statement. What did she say? What did this woman say in charge of the Women's Network that was so bad that the allegation people were like, you need to go?
I don't know. What?
She said that the case against them was meritless. So if we go to the next one,
Right, okay.
she sent this internal memo. She called the case against Activision truly meritless and an irresponsible lawsuit. And I'm looking out on this I've got no allegiance to anyone involved. And I just have to wonder, like, a lot of these things flag up as being the kind of feminist nonsense from 2010. And it makes me suspicious. Because you put alongside that the serious claims, the stuff that could be taken seriously. And yet you're throwing in, talking about, like, did you know the leaders are white men?
Yes.
What's it got to do with anything?
Well, I find it's the damaged our ongoing quest for equality inside and outside of our industry.
Outside.
Makes me, well, that's the point, isn't it? And that just goes to show you, look, they are communists. So they've got this religious motivation to have absolute equality. And of course, all of their arguments stem from, only 20% of the developers are female or something. It's like, who cares? Like you say, it's not a liberal standard, but it is a communist standard. And so now we're applying all of these things. And then these people say, our ongoing quest for equality. It's like, sorry, what? At least in the company, you'd have thought that your ongoing quest would have been to make good video games. Call me old-fashioned.
The true purpose of a video game company, equality.
Yeah, communism.
Making video games.
Yeah, it's
it's the burgers thing.
Yeah, it's literally, how is this going to help us sell more video games? Sell more video games? It's like, they don't care about any of that. And so this obviously comes from people who openly call themselves political activists and then say, well, this is damaging our quest for, our activism. It's like, okay. Doesn't feel genuine to me, I've got to say.
Yeah, I've got some very suspicious feelings about this as well. I've got no sympathy for Blizzard. I hope Blizzard dies.
Yeah,
but
no,
I was
don't know.
hoping they
Blizzard's
die
all-
because their games are trash.
Yeah.
But if they're going to die by other means, whatever. But I have to wonder, looking at this, I mean, they've got serious allegations in there, which of course have to be investigated. But it's so mixed in with so much nonsense, just makes me suspicious. But I guess we'll find out the truth when it goes through the courts.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.